So before we get into this interview, a little bit of housekeeping. Obviously, there are some directors, filmmakers, creatives that can't make it to the festival because it can be a bit of a trek, especially if you're living in America or Spain or Germany or France or wherever. It can be a bit of a trek. So what I decided to do again was to get some pre-recorded stuff done. I got on the old Zoom, StreamYards, whatever people wanted me to get onto, I got onto them. And we did some remote calls, pre-recorded stuff, awesome interviews with some great filmmakers that I can't wait for you to listen to right now. So that movie will have just played at the festival. People will have seen it. I'll try and get some live reactions from people as they're coming out so we can play some of that as well. Just because you can't get here, you should still get your Q&A, and it should still be with me because I'm the best one. You're going to be getting a few of these throughout the week, scattered around, and they're all absolutely awesome. This is Nerdly Out Loud, Nerdly TV. We are at Romford, the Romford Film Festival. We love the Romford Film Festival. We're going to continue coming back here every single year as long as they will have us. If you've been living under a rock and you have not seen this, Nerdly has got themselves into a little position where we are in partnership with Shepka Productions, The Baby in the Basket, which is a gothic horror. He's joined up with Flickering Myth to partner up and make this movie, and then they came to us and asked Nerdly to jump on board too. Absolutely, we were going to do that, and we did a crowdfunder. The crowdfunder went amazing. It's still ongoing, so you can go to Kickstarter, type in The Baby in the Basket. I'll put links all over the place. Type in The Baby in the Basket. Give £1, give £10, but only give what you can. We don't want people giving money they don't have. Please do all those wonderful things. Like, subscribe, bell, all of it. Brilliant stuff. Let's get into today's interview, which will be with whoever's in the title. But if you're not at Romford, get yourself there. Get yourself to the cinema. We are showing a smorgasbord of awesome movies. So yes, welcome back to another episode of Nerdly Presents Romford TV Live. As you can see, I am Nerdly inside the Romford Film Festival. Romford, I'm so happy to be inside you right now. But we are here to talk to director Levi Austin Morris, the director of Paralysis, a movie that's playing on our horror takeover day. How are you, Levi, this morning?
I'm doing very well. Thank you. Thank you very much. It's a fresh new day, so bring it on.
It is.
Yeah.
And it's going to be Saturday the 27th. We're playing Paralysis. How cool is it to be having your movie shown on the big screens and being out there and for everyone to see?
I'm super excited about it. I'm mostly excited that I'm able to share the story of the film. It's something that we all worked on incredibly hard, and it is very much a micro budget passion project. So it means a lot that festivals are accepting it. And I'm disappointed that I cannot be there, but my passport is not arriving in time. So yeah.
I mean, to be completely honest, it is Romford, and that's all I'll say about that.
Okay.
But,
Okay.
So normally I would ask people over the last few years. It's been a bit of a time and everything like that, and I like to ask the question about what you did over lockdown. But I guess we kind of know what you did over lockdown.
Yeah.
Shot a movie entirely on your iPhone.
Yeah.
Played one of the main leads. All sorts of special effects in there. You didn't make this easy on yourself, did you?
I did not. We had a really small team. I wrote this during the lockdown in October 2020. I started writing it. And then we started shooting it in July 2021, right at the end of the lockdown. And we had a really small skeleton crew. So everybody was wearing multiple hats. So it was really crazy. But it was fun, but it was nuts. And I will not do a team that small again. So yeah. Yeah.
And then what? I suppose it's much the same as any other filmmaking experience, but what was it like doing this all on like Filmic Pro, I believe it was? Or
Yeah, we
like
used Filmic Pro.
what's that like? Because I film like a 10-minute video on my phone and that's all my space gone. Storage is gone.
Yeah.
So,
Yes.
so-
I mean, I will say there's a lot of flexibility in using a phone, in getting in tighter quarters and stuff. So you can get shots that you wouldn't be able to get with a larger camera. The space on the phone, unfortunately, is absolutely a downfall. So we shot with 2 different phones so that when one phone was full, somebody could be dropping all the footage onto the computer or the hard drive, and then we'd be shooting with the other phone. So we sort of made a system so that we could keep the ball rolling. Yeah, but you
Awesome.
are right. Like the space is so limited on the phone that it's like that's kind of a hard workaround. But it was a fun challenge. I've shot short films on my phone before. I've also done DSLR, but with this project, just because of COVID and everything, we were like, let's just do this. So yeah,
And what I love about that is like so many times I've spoken to young filmmakers or filmmakers who've gone and done the courses and whatnot, and then it becomes a case of, you know what, I just don't know if I have the money or the ability, or I just don't know if I can get these cameras because everybody gets stuck on having a Red or an Alexa or
yeah,
anything like that. But there you are showing that, look, I just made a feature
yeah.
with my phone
Yeah,
during
and
lockdown.
it's pretty solid, like, it's
It's solid.
like yeah, I feel very good about it, like, I think, like, we did really great cinematography. I researched a lot with the lighting so that because you do have to pump more light in when you're,
Yeah.
shooting on a phone because otherwise it's gonna be really grainy, but yeah, I feel very good about the product that we got, so yeah.
So jumping back a little bit, we will
Yeah.
jump into Paralysis in a quick second. What's your background? How did you get into filmmaking? You've done some acting as well. So how did you get into all this, and why the hell would you do it?
I ask myself that every single day. I was a theater major in college. I was in plays throughout high school and elementary school. I just loved being on stage. For me, it was sort of like a safe place and a sanctuary. And then when I finished college, I stayed. I'm originally from Minnesota.
Mhm.
I stayed in Minnesota and I did like professional theater scene for a year. And then I was like, God, I hate this snow here because we would get like 3 to 4 feet of snow every winter. And I was like, to hell with this. So I moved to California, and I had done some short films in college, but that was about it. I really didn't have experience. I've been here for 12 years and I've been building my community and learning through people who are smarter than me and trial and error. And so it's been like a crash course, but I'm like, there's nothing else I want to do with my life. So like I bartend on the side for supplemental income because that's what filmmakers do. But it's where my passion is. So yeah.
It's funny how all filmmakers back in the day used to work in video shops, but now they all work in bars.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Because those don't exist anymore, unfortunately. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
so normally at this point when I'm going into the movie, I like to ask about where the story came from, what the
Sure.
seed, what the germ was. But this was quite a profoundly personal tale for you as well.
Yeah.
And one of the things I wanted to know was like, why was it time to tell this story, and how does it feel to get it out there? It must be kind of cathartic.
It's very cathartic. It's a little bit emotional. Like I will say, we just appeared in our second festival recently, and I had to stand in the back because at the first one I was too anxious the whole time. So the second festival I stood in the back while everybody watched the film. But it was cool because then I had like a bird's eye view of everybody's reactions, which was really fun. But yeah, this. I mean, the inspiration for this was dealing with my own isolation
Yeah,
during quarantine. That's what like really started the seed. But I also started therapy in 2020, and so in starting therapy, dealing with like traumas from my own childhood, not to go into too much detail, but like I have kind of a rough upbringing with like a dad who was a drug addict and abusive. So it was sort of like, how can I channel that into a script to purge those feelings so that I can, move on with my life. And
yeah.
so this is sort of what came out of that. So yeah,
I can definitely feel that. I went through something very similar a little while back as well, so I
yeah,
can see where you're coming from, and I can relate to that. But so I know what you got from making this movie, and what your catharsis and your working through and everything. But what do you want other people to take from this movie?
that is a good question. Um, I think I think sort of accepting that grief and trauma are something that we all experience, and and it's okay to go through it as opposed to avoid it. I think a lot of people, like for most of my life, I was avoiding my feelings surrounding that. And I think this movie really deals with telling the audience and telling everyone that like it is okay to allow yourself to process and work through it,
Mm.
and it's healthier to ask for help, so yeah, I think just like, also I just hope they're scared to shit, but like, yeah.
Well, on that as well, because it
Yeah,
is a deep and introspective movie, and when I read like how it was sort of based on your own personal insight and everything like that, it was like, oh, right, I get that a little bit more now. But at the same time, it's a horror movie,
yeah,
and
yeah, yeah,
we got some jump scares in there,
yeah,
and for something you made in lockdown, again on a phone with very little money, very little budget,
yeah.
the makeup and the effects and the jump scares are brilliant.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I take a lot of pride in that. I we did hire, like, we raised funds through Seed and Spark, which is just a crowdfunding campaign platform. But we made the whole film on $17,000. And
That's
so
mad.
yeah, so I think the reason we were able to keep the cost so low is my lead actress owns the house that we filmed at. That's where she lives.
That helps.
And the thing that helped actually the most was she was staying with her parents during lockdown, and so she allowed me and my ex to stay in her house. So during lockdown, when I was writing that script, I lived in the house, so I was walking around the house and I was like, this is going to happen here and this is going to happen here. And so that definitely contributed to it. But we hired an incredible makeup artist. She's a professional makeup artist in LA,
Mhm.
but she has a indie rate. Thank God. And that worked out in our favor. So yeah, and yeah, it was just really fun to set those up and make them
And
happen.
we're gonna have a whole audience of people watching that movie, and I'm definitely gonna be catching people as they come out because there's one
Cool.
particular scene that I absolutely just, yeah, I crap my pants. I'll say it. I'll say it.
Oh yeah,
And
good.
it's sort of like when the camera is on Alison Lobel, and the camera's on her, and then it sort of like pans around nice and slow, and then I'm not
Uh-huh.
going to spoil it, but
Yeah, yeah,
holy
yeah.
crap,
Good. Okay,
that
excellent.
that got me
Oh,
because
good.
you are kind of sitting there like I watch a lot of low budget independent movies, so I kind of know what restraints can come with that.
Yeah,
And then when that happened, I was like, damn, I was not expecting that.
good.
That got me.
Oh.
Um, but on
Mhm.
Is it Lobel or
Yeah, no, it's
Lobel?
Lobel. You were right the first time.
Lobel.
Yeah. Yep.
So where the hell have you found this young lady? Because what a talent.
She is so talented. She's truly one of my very best friends. And so when I wrote this script, I wrote it obviously with her in mind, also because I was living in her house. But I've worked with her before on short films and feature films in the past. And she's just, my friends make fun of me because she's my muse. But when you have somebody who's so easy to work with and so talented and who can deliver, like, of course I'm going to want to work with them, so it's been a gift working with her and sort of developing with her, yeah, so she's super talented. She's always working on projects in LA as well, so yeah.
And how is that sort of like this story that you've written again? It's quite introspective, and then you're acting alongside her, playing this
Yeah.
role. Like, how is it seeing someone play that role that you have spilled out onto the page?
It's interesting because sometimes they make choices, because even Lisa Gay, the actress who plays Anissa,
Mm.
makes choices that I maybe didn't intend when I wrote it, but I find it more interesting what they've done. So like, or more emotional or more, so it was exciting. There were certain moments that I certainly had to guide her a little more where I needed the emotional
Yeah.
journey of the story to go. But it's really exciting to see somebody with that talent elevate what I have written, um, and then figure out in the cutting room if I've overwritten a scene and chopped it to bits. So like, yeah, yeah,
And the great thing is the two of you together definitely have this natural chemistry on screen, and you can see it there. Like not potentially, but I absolutely could believe that you were brother and sister, and that
Cool.
this thing was there, and you both sort of had seen some stuff through the
Yeah.
years,
Yeah.
and so what was it like, kind of just like trying to up your levels and up your games, and she's trying to up her game, and you're trying to up
Yeah.
your game?
Yeah, yeah. I will say there were certain scenes that it felt incredible to play off each other.
Yeah,
There's a scene in the backyard. It's more of an emotional scene than a scary scene. But we played off each other, and that to me is one of the strongest scenes in the movie. It's just a very, I mean, it's a very cathartic scene as well, I think, for me.
yeah,
But it's exciting when you're in a space with somebody who is going to sort of push you and challenge you in that way. So yeah, it was super fun, and it's fun to discover new things in the
mm,
moment with not only the other actor but also with, like, because obviously I couldn't be behind the camera on the scenes that I'm in. So actually the male demon in our film, he's the other DP. We shared
nice.
that position of DP, and so he would be behind the camera when I was in the scene, and so it was really fun to sort of dance and figure out between the three of us how the scene was going to flow. So yeah.
That's awesome. That's
Yeah.
awesome. So when you watch this back, and I'm assuming you'll have watched it many times, and
More than
you've
I care to. Yeah,
but
I've seen
when
this
you
movie so much.
I mean, I've watched it twice now, so
Okay.
that's not a bad thing.
Well, thank
But
you.
so when you do see it up on the big screen or on your laptop at home or on your TV at home, and you watch it, every filmmaker and every creative that I speak to is hypercritical of all
Uh-huh.
their works, and they can tell you a million and one things that was wrong on the day,
Yeah.
in the finished project, everything like that. But what I like to ask is, what are you most proud of? What's the
Mm,
moment in the movie that you see and you go, "We nailed it that day. We got that."
yeah. I'm gonna say it's something that is also my most frustrating day, and it's because we made it through that day. So there was a scene in the woods. We call it the burned out place, but it's when I show up at the end in the woods with Allison's character,
Mhm.
and we had a specific location in mind, that it was a park in LA that had burned down, and we guerrilla filmed all the outside stuff, like, because it's cheaper. We didn't have to pay for the permit stuff. Like, we did all guerrilla filming for outside stuff. But in that scene, the park that had burned down, when we went back to check, because I discovered that park when I was writing the script during lockdown. And then when I went back just before we had to film it, which was months and months later, the city had cleared out a lot of the park, a lot of the burned out brush.
Yeah.
So the day before, well, the week before, my producer was finding a new location for us while we were still on set filming. And she found the location we filmed at the day before. So I went sight unseen. I had storyboarded and shot list a very specific thing, and it did not work in this new location because of, it was a very hilly terrain. Um, it was my most stressful day on set. Like, my anxiety was at its peak. And my ex was working on the project as well with us, and that was sort of the day that I knew our relationship was ending. So it was like, it was a very emotionally
Yeah.
difficult day. However, looking back, it's one of the hardest scenes for me to watch, but it's also like, we got through that. It was an emotional day for everybody, like, and so it's like there's a lot of pride that we achieved that. Otherwise, I would also, I'm gonna rewind a little. There's one shot that's a 360-degree shot. It's not quite the one that you were talking about,
Yeah.
where, it's when Allison's asleep, and then Lisa Gay, Anissa, is sitting next to her, and it's like a long 360-degree around the
Yeah.
room.
Yeah.
And we did that by using a lazy Susan, like, and just putting our camera on a tripod and slowly rotating it. And I just am so glad that shot was successful. So yeah.
I mean, that's indie filmmaking right there.
Yes, it is. Yeah. Yeah.
Right, okay. So the movie is on the festival circuit now. You're putting it out there, you're letting people see it, and I've asked you just now what your favorite thing is about seeing it up on the screen, and you had a couple of things there, which is great because most filmmakers turn around and go, "Oh, I don't like anything about my movie."
Oh.
Uh,
Yeah.
so no, I'm happy
I
with
mean,
that.
don't
I'm
get me
happy with
wrong.
that.
I'm still criticizing it and
Oh,
writing my
definitely,
producer like, "Oh, I
definitely.
want to cut this," and she's like, "It's in the festivals, Levi. Let it go." So yeah.
But what's the best thing you've heard someone say about it, or you've seen
Mm.
someone write about it, or what's the best thing you've seen so far?
We've actually gotten some really good reviews from critics that feel incredible too. It feels very validating.
Yeah.
But I would say there's two things. After the first festival the festival we premiered in, there was a Q&A afterwards, and the audience was so like they were so silent the entire film that I was like, oh, they're hating it. Like, and I was
Mm,
feeling so self-conscious. And then I got up for the Q&A, and like everybody was very complimentary, and like they were like, this is not only so emotional, but like you have achieved both the emotion and the scares in a
mhm,
really successful way, and so that felt incredibly gratifying. And then the other thing would be at the second festival, it was a very responsive crowd, so it was like we had people like, ooh, don't go in there, like, so it was like super fun to like get that feeling as well. So yeah. Yeah.
I think as well that that plays into the and it's probably sort of a byproduct of the way it was being filmed as well, but it kind of has a James Wan kind of feel to it, like the Conjuring kind of
Yes.
feel to it, where you're looking all around the screen to see what's going to be
Yeah.
there. Sometimes there might be, sometimes there might not
Yeah.
be, and
Yeah.
like that's, I think that's kind of what I was vibing with the most.
Yes.
I was sort of like waiting for something.
Yeah, and that was that I will say is actually one of the benefits of shooting with the phone was because we have different lenses for the phone, and
Mhm.
so like we can create a more intimate feeling with some of them because it does give us a nice bokeh effect in the background. But sometimes using the native lens where everything's in sharp focus, we have really fun shadows that happen in like the windows or in the doors, or and so it's just really fun to play with, like, oh, make sure to get this in the shot because it's like adding to the eeriness. So yeah.
There is actually a scene quite near the start of the movie where she's stood in the bedroom, and behind her in the curtain in the
Yes.
window, I
Yes.
was convinced there was somebody there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because of those shadows. Yeah, it's so good. It's so good. Yeah.
So, what's next for Levi? Are you just pushing this movie out and making sure people get to see it, or are you actively working on your next project?
I've already started working on the next project.
Awesome.
I am actively pushing this film out. Like, we want to get a distribution deal at some point, and but right now I have started writing my next feature. It is a comedy, a dark satirical comedy. I'm from Minnesota, like I said, and it's Minnesota moms and wives killing their husbands because they want their independence back. So it's like it's going to be
Nice.
like ridiculous, like Death Becomes Her style comedy, or I don't know, like Barb and stuff. I don't know. It's like a whole bunch of things that like it's like a, but it's dark and it's going to be gory and fun. So yeah, but not horror. So yeah, yeah.
Nah, just give me some more horror. I'll be fine.
Yeah, I do actually.
But
I was thinking I do want to make Paralysis. I want to make a second Paralysis, and I want to follow
nice.
the Anissa character. I want to follow her story and do both a sequel and a prequel in the same film. So yeah,
Yeah, because you only really get to know towards the end of the movie a little bit
yeah,
about Anissa, and it's
yeah,
yeah, I can see that. I can see that
yeah.
working.
And
Yeah,
then her
definitely do that.
nanny and that whole story. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, let's
So
go for it. I
yeah,
want to see that. Let's do
yeah.
it.
Me too. Yeah,
So I'm gonna end on asking you to give out a little bit of advice if you can, because this is being shown at our film festival. We're going to have lots of young people there who want to try and get into this industry, who are like getting on the first ladder of the industry and whatnot. But
yeah.
you have done something truly special and truly creative with this movie, and it's turned out the way it has. It's a gorgeous little film that I think people need to see
Thank
because
you very
of the
much.
way you've done it and what you've accomplished with it. What would be your one bit of go-to advice to someone to truly just inspire them to just go out and get it done?
I would say don't wait for permission. I think so many people in the industry are waiting for permission from somebody or waiting for a check from somebody so that they can create the story that they want. And for me, it was never about that. It was about tell a personal story for you in a creative way and don't wait for permission. Like just write it. Find a community of people that you trust that you can be vulnerable with to create with and just create it. Just make it happen. There are ways around, there are creative ways around
Mm.
spending a buttload of money, you know? So like research, but don't wait for permission is my biggest piece of advice. Yeah.
And I'm gonna wrap out a little bit there, but Levi, thank you so much for
Absolutely.
submitting your movie. Thank you for letting us select it. Thank you for letting us show it.
Yeah.
You are closing out the horror takeover day, I believe.
Oh,
Is it the last film?
I don't
I
know.
think.
I think I think it was the 7:15 to 9:15 block, I think.
All right,
I'm
there
not
might be
sure if
one.
there
There
might
might
be
be
one
one more
more
after
after
that.
us. Yeah.
But you're also in the section with a short movie called Eric, which is
Yes.
phenomenal.
It looks so good. It
It
looks
is.
so
It
good.
is.
Yeah.
So all I'm going to say is, if anybody is in the Romford area and whatnot and can make it, that is a double bill you don't want to miss.
Cool.
So get there. But again, Levi, thank you so much
Yeah, thank you.
for giving us this movie. Thank you for doing this for us as well and sitting down to chat. I hope
Yeah,
to speak to you again in the future sometime. We absolutely
absolutely.
will. I'm going to end with one last question
Sure,
just to put you on the spot before we leave, and then you can let people know where they can find you after
sure.
that. Um, what is your favorite scary movie?
Ooh, oh god. That is a hard question. So you brought up James Wan. I love James Wan. I do love the Conjuring films. I love Insidious. But I
Mm,
also I love Train to Busan, which is a Korean zombie film. It is
yeah.
so incredibly emotional and intense, and that's more of a thriller, but it's still fantastic. I grew up on I mean, my mom was like Death Becomes Her. That's not really horror. That's like a dark comedy fantasy. So God, I love Hereditary and Midsommar. I don't know if I have a favorite. That's the problem. There's too many. Um, I guess just for the sake of the question, I will say The Conjuring or
Nah.
Insidious, but I
Which,
don't think that's it.
which
Yeah.
did you prefer? I mean, you've just named Conjuring there, but which do you prefer between Conjuring 1 and 2?
So I think there are some better scares in 2, but I
Mm,
think the story of 1 is better. Um,
yeah.
yeah, I think the old man in the second one is truly terrifying.
Mm,
But I think that the story of I think her name's Bathsheba, in the
yes,
first
yes.
one is a better yeah. And I think the practical effects in the first one are so cool. So, yeah.
Get some of them in your next shot, your
Yeah.
next film.
Yeah.
Let's do this. So again, Levi, thank you for doing this. Thanks
Thank you so
for
much.
giving us your movie, and we
Yeah.
look forward to checking you out and seeing you again in the future.
Yeah, thank you.
Hey, Haley. I haven't heard from you in a while, and I just wanted to check in and make sure that you're okay.
Hey, Haley. Okay, Christy and I were just talking about
Haley,
you.
this is Mom. Why aren't you answering your phone? I haven't seen you in months, and now you're not answering your phone?
Until I know what we're dealing with, I'd like you to stay somewhere else.
I don't have anywhere else to go.
Take a deep breath. It's just you and me here. I'm not going anywhere.
Nikki, wait.